Does he count us down?
Oh.
Portugal open with a win. We talk about Cristiano Ronaldo making history, and also the favourites Brazil get off to a winning start with Richarlison scoring a goal of the tournament contender.
Yeah, what a goal. The nation holds its breath as England take on USA tonight, and we hear from boxing broadcasting legend Steve Bunce with his thoughts ahead of the game. Welcome to the World Cup Sera Qatar, a podcast produced by sports journalism students at the University of Central Lancashire from our TV studio in Preston. I'm Ollie Woolton.
And I'm Elliot Thompson. In this episode, we'll be looking back at all the action from yesterday's games. We are also joined in the studio by...
I'm Dan Gallagher, I'm a third year sports journalism student.
And I'm Ben Pitt-Keithley, a second year sports journalism student.
Have you lads been enjoying the World Cup so far?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it so far. I know there's been a lot of criticism about the low scoring games, but in my eyes, the 1-0s and 0-0s have still been entertaining. Canada Belgium's a good example of that. And then you've got 6-2 England Iran, 7-0 Spain Costa Rica, and 3-2 Portugal Ghana last night.
Well, as a Scotland fan, it's another competition we haven't qualified for, so it's been a bit hard to watch other teams that I'm not particularly bothered about. But it has been a good quality of football despite some slow-paced play at time.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads. Well, first we're going to get back to you in a second. We're going to head over to the fan zone at Winter Gardens in Blackpool. Fans are already watching Wales play Iran. I'm not sure how many are watching it. Possibly getting ready for the England game as well. Our correspondent Nathan Salmon is there at the minute. Nathan, doesn't look too busy there at the moment, but are you feeling the atmosphere starting to build for the England game?
Yeah, morning lads. It's not busy at the moment. There's more than there was yesterday. There's a solid 4 or 5 people, which is much better than the 0 of yesterday. I'm quite thankful that Wales are playing okay. Obviously, Iran are not a walkover, and it's a tough game for them. So if they lose this one, could be them out.
Thanks, Nathan. We'll come back to you in a bit. Now we have Steve Bunce, who is, how would you say, a very enthusiastic commentator on 5 Live, BBC. He's a very big football fan, obviously been watching the World Cup. He's been talking to our reporter, Elliot Burrow.
So first of all then, Steve, just sort of, we know you're renowned for your boxing more than anything, but when you were growing up, did you ever play football or was it all about boxing? And did you have any sort of early memories of the World Cup? Or?
No, I played football in school because that was, fun enough, that was the only sport that my school did in South London. We didn't do rugby, cricket, track, hockey, anything, certainly not anything like lacrosse. We just played football. And then in the summer months, we went into what they used to call euphemistically a gym, which was just a shed really. There was no weights in there or running machines. It was just a gym, and in there you played maybe badminton or a version of badminton tennis. But there was no other sport at my school other than football, and I was never a good footballer. And I managed to go from the age of 11 up front to about the age of 15 in goal. And then I was like the second or third reserve goalkeeper, so I wasn't a great goalkeeper. And I didn't really find out until I was about 30 years of age that it takes a lot of brains to be a goalkeeper. I just thought they were the dumbest people on the pitch, so that's why I was naturally the dumbest and the people that could kick the ball the worst got to play in goal.
So then growing up then, Steve, what was sort of your earliest World Cup memory? Do you have any of sort of, because obviously England won in '66, I think, wasn't it? And
yeah, it was kind of before my time. I was 4 years of age. In fact, I was 3 years of age, and I'd like to lie, like a lot of people do in sports broadcasting. So I remember that. I watched that on my dad's knee in the Nag's Head. It's a complete lie. And I can't remember anything about that, but I do start to remember the World Cup when Cruyff was playing, and then there's just those striking orange shirts. So this was about 74, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 years after the 72 Olympics. I can remember that very clearly. And I can just remember that vivid shirt and always wanting one of those shirts. And there was just something brilliant about the Dutch. And then, of course, as you grow older, you realise that they never won the thing. But they're the lasting memory of that particular... I can't even tell you who won the... Well, I can, obviously. But, in casual conversation, I couldn't tell you who won the World Cup in 1974. But I remember the Dutch. And I'm not sure if that was sexy football. I'm not sure if that was the pinnacle of what Cruyff and the rest of those guys did. But there was something about that really, really appealed to me.
England versus the USA. I was just wondering, really, sort of in America, then what's a big fight night like over there? Like when it's in Las Vegas and stuff. How big of a deal is it to them?
We, the Brits, taught the Americans about ring walks and music. I mean, Mike Tyson's early fights, you were sitting down at ringside talking to someone next to you and you saw a little bit of movement and you looked up and there's Tyson in the ring. There's no music, there's no walk. I mean, us and the Germans, mostly the Klitschko brothers, obviously Ukrainian, but based in Hamburg, we taught the Americans how to put fights on. Sure, Don King and Bob Arum have made the greatest fights in history. But they made the fights in the ring. They forgot about everything else. I mean, Bob Arum will admit, he's 90 years of age. He'll tell you that the Brits and the Germans do it better than the Americans. But people get sort of caught up on the whole Vegas thing. They think Vegas is unbelievable. It is. It's also $15 for a bottle of Budweiser inside all of those casinos. So people are going crazy in Qatar because it's the equivalent of 12 quid. It's more in Las Vegas. But here's the truth. If you go to Las Vegas and you've sold your granny, and you've lied to your wife and your partner about why you're going out there, you can't come back and say, that Vegas, I tell you what, it's absolutely rubbish. It's about $500 a round. Food's the worst in the world. The accommodation's garbage. You've got to pay an absolute fortune to get the type of rooms you've seen. No one can say that. But when the Brits go on the road to Las Vegas, we put on something special. So when Tyson fights in Las Vegas, the greatest ring entries in Las Vegas have been Tyson Fury. Not Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury. How crazy is that?
Does that mean we're going to hopefully be able to dominate them in the football then as well with a bit of luck?
Oh, you know what? I grew up in the 70s watching the remnants and the relics and watching all of those great 66 players slowly drop off the edge of the footballing cliff. Each and every year, another one would retire. And they were replaced by guys that were really good workmen-like, good players, but they just lacked something. And then we fell into the last 20 years, that golden generation, Beckham and co, Mr. Qatar. And we fell into that generation, and that was all about hope and hype and belief. And that was draining enough. Watching a team that couldn't qualify for the World Cup in the 70s and the 80s, that was draining enough. And then all of the hope and expectation from the golden generation, that was draining enough. I'm exhausted with expectation. But I look at this gathered team, and I look at, as athletes, just how much better they are. And that's because, they don't eat and drink. They don't eat junk. They don't drink as much. Most of them don't drink at all. And I just look at them and I see them, some of these players, and you see them in the flesh. If I'm lucky enough to go to a lot of matches, and you see how they seem to have bonded and they're working and there's something young about them. Even Raheem Sterling, who's not a kid anymore, he seems like, to me, he's an 18-year-old boy, a 19-year-old boy. He plays like a 20-year-old boy. Saka is 21 or 20, and that's how a lot of them play. You see Harry Kane, you expected him to come out in a pair of slippers. The man's still only a boy himself, but there's something about this squad. So if they don't absolutely destroy America, take them apart and win. I don't mean nick a win. I don't mean like the Belgians did over Canada. Nick a win when they didn't deserve it. That's not good. I mean, that's not going to be good enough. Let's get it right.
Yeah.
If they do what we think they can do, and they become expansive and they relax and they all start playing, because that's a brilliantly talented squad.
And sort of then looking at that England squad, I'm going to do like a crossover here with boxing in a way. Do you reckon any of those England players in that squad have got the capability to be a boxer? Or who do you reckon would be the best boxer in that England squad potentially? Maybe
just about all of them. Maybe not Harry Kane, although he's vicious when you watch him in the flesh. He loves the confrontation. I used to say that Thierry Henry would have been the cruiserweight world champion for about 10 years. He would have reigned untouchable. Phil Foden would be a great boxer. Phil Foden's friend's a boxer. Marcus Rashford's always at the fights, in disguise. I've never understood why modern footballers, when they go out in disguise, they wear a hoodie that's instantly recognisable as something that costs $5,000 and a pair of diamond-encrusted sunglasses. Well, you got sunglasses, you're indoors, son. What you doing? You got diamonds around them. Anyone that knows instantly realises he's wearing $7,000 worth of shoes, the dopey sausage. But Rashford's always at fights. He's got loads of friends. Rashford would have been a really good fighter.
In a way, sort of through your knowledge of boxing and then through watching football, do you almost have to laugh sometimes when a footballer goes down, when he's just got a little knock to the ankle, when for your living, you watch people basically get punched and basically get hurt a whole lot more than that.
Listen, if your sport is competitive jigsaw fixing, right? If you're in the competitive jigsaw game or the competitive Ludo game, you'd watch modern footballers, 11 stone, 6 foot 1 inch men or 5 foot 10 inch men falling on the floor because someone's hit them with a manicured nail on the back of their shoulder. And you have to laugh. But it's so seriously ingrained. It's not a joke. It's not a cliche. It's not an article in the Daily Mail that 11-year-old, 10-year-old boys and girls are copying what they're watching on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. There's so much football on TV. You know, I also grew up in a period where there was no live football, for God's sake. So it is embarrassing. It is ridiculous. But who's going to stop it?
And looking ahead to next Saturday as well, we've got obviously Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora. There's been a lot of talk about Fury taking on this fight and whether it's just something to fill time. But obviously, Usyk's not available. Joshua's not accepted a contract due to reasons, of course. But for this fight for Fury, is it just a case of filling time before a bigger fight becomes available? Or is it something more than that? Is Derek Chisora actually a lively contender here?
Well, we hope it's just a situation where he has to take it as part of his contract. He needed to fight by the end of this year. He had to get the money. And he's given his old sparring partner, one of his dearest friends, Derek Chisora, a nice payday. Derek will perform. Derek will not jump on the floor. As close as they are, you wouldn't know it because there's going to be a lot of circus theatrics during the build-up to the fight. Don't worry about that. They have a lot of respect for each other. They've shared a lot of rounds already, both in the ring as boxing each other and as sparring partners. Derek will give it a good go. But he knows Derek is coming close to the end. I mean, it was over 10 years ago when he had his one and only world title fight against Vitaly Klitschko in Munich. So Derek will give it a good go. Tyson will make it a show. There'll be 70,000 people there freezing. But it's hopefully just a taster of what we might get next year.
We'll come back to football then, just to wrap it up. So the big game kicks off later on today. I'm going to push you for a score prediction, first of all. And then I'm going to ask you, do you think it's possible it could be coming home?
Yeah, 3-0 to England or 3-1. And I haven't studied the absolute breakdown, especially with some of these shock defeats that we've had. So, you know, your pre-made plans that Argentina would be here and Germany would be here. Suddenly they're a bit up in the air. Are they good enough to win? Absolutely, they're good enough to win. Will they win? I think they will. I don't think there's any problems in this side psychologically. Most of these players have been in massive Premier League matches over the last 4 or 5 years. They've been in unbelievable Champions League matches with unbelievable pressure on them. They're a good team. They're a team of strong individual men. You know, we've got that bit of European form. They're not going to fall apart. You know, he needs to play competitively. I don't want to sound like a broken record and like 1,000 other pundits. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to be front foot. He needs to do what Tyson Fury did when he got his match with Deontay Wilder. I'm not going to go out there to be safe. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to smash this guy to bits and win in 6 rounds. He went out there. He smashed the guy to bits and won in 6 rounds. I'd like to see England adopt a little bit of Tyson Fury. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely class there to hear a bit of wisdom from Steve, and a big thanks to Elliot for putting together that interview.
Yeah, some very interesting comments about Phil Foden being a boxer. Didn't see that one coming, to be honest. No. But today we've got lots of action. Wales currently playing, but before we get into that, let's look at yesterday. We had Cameroon edging past Switzerland edging past Cameroon, 1-0, and Uruguay South Korea 0-0 draw, the fourth one of this competition so far. Portugal won 3-2 without Ronaldo making history, and the favourites Brazil got off to a winning start, but Neymar went off injured. It's a bit of a worry. Getting a bit of a flashback to 2014, would you say?
Yeah, he looked distraught, didn't he? Like he came off, and I know the Brazil team doctors came out and said that they're going to have to wait 24 to 48 hours from the end of that game to see the extent of the injury. How big of a loss do you guys think that could be? Obviously Neymar, he's the star man, he's a brilliant player.
Obviously, like you said, he's the star man, he's one of the biggest stars of the World Cup, and he's said previously that this might be his last one. So everyone wants to see him play. He's one of those that he just lights up the pitch. But I don't know if it's a bit of a controversial take, and obviously they scored both goals with him on the pitch, but I actually thought the attack had a lot more fluidity when he went off, whether that was just because it was
I
in the
agree
80th
with that,
minute onwards and there was tired legs on the pitch, I don't know, but it did look more like a team than just one player.
I thought it gave a bit more impetus on Richarlison getting in the game, because I think Richarlison likes to be the star man. Obviously we saw when he was at Everton it was that sort of thing, and I think when Neymar's playing you're always going to be playing second fiddle, and I think that was probably the case as soon as Neymar came off. Richarlison sort of got into it. I know he scored before, but it was a little bit like that. What do you reckon?
It was interesting to see Neymar play almost as an 8 at times and dropping a bit deeper, and he sort of tried to create chances from deep, but at the same time sometimes his decision making wasn't great, and when he came off the pitch and Rodrigo actually came on and played really well in that position, I thought the fluidity was much better and they created more chances from that.
Without trying to sound like a typical, just, I don't want to say casual fan, but players like Neymar, they do need to be higher up the pitch. You don't want him, even though they do have a strong attacking lineup, it's Neymar, you want him, you don't want him dropping deep.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a tactical observation, I think, because having him into the 10 position would be obviously great, but when a team sitting back, Serbia went far at the back, it's bound to happen.
They brought him back to get him on the ball.
Yeah, and that's why he gets fouled so many times.
Yeah, and I think that's why they just, like they said when the lineups were announced, he's just given a free roll. He's just told he can do whatever he wants, and he thinks he needs to do that to get the ball up the pitch, and he does, but I think you mentioned a minute ago that he was fouled 9 times, so it's
the most of any single player.
Yeah,
Cup so far.
and that's a good thing because it is winning your sides free kicks, but it's also losing momentum because it's just there's no flow to the game. It's just stop and start. So I think Martinelli impressed when he came on. He looked direct, as Ben said. Rodrigo impressed as well, and I think Gabriel Jesus, obviously being a City fan and then being a former City player, I love him. I just think he's not got the edge about him that obviously Richarlison showed, because I know there was a lot of debate about what Jesus would have done. He'd have probably laid it back in that situation, and Richarlison just thought,
We've seen that too many times at Arsenal this season, haven't we?
Yeah, would you say that without Neymar, they look like a better team? Is that too much of a big statement to say?
I think Serbia tied as the game went on, and Brazil, the attacking options are incredible to come on and really go at Serbia at the time when they sort of dropped off, and you even saw at the end where they took Mitrovic off and brought more of a defensive player in, Matimovic or whatever his name is. They just tried to stop the goal difference at the end of the day. But another big thing for Brazil is that Danilo went off, and he played really, really well at right back, and all they really got to cover is Dani Alves.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting
to
see what they do with that.
Another World Cup.
39 years old,
Yeah,
isn't he? Well, we'll hear soon from the doctor from Brazil. It'll be very important, that obviously.
Massive news.
Yeah, I mentioned Ronaldo making history before. He's the first men's player to score in 5 World Cups with the penalty. What were you thinking on Ronaldo? It was a slow first half, like quite a lot of the big European teams. It was slow, the build of play wasn't quite there. He wins the penalty, he scores, the headlines on him. What were your thoughts?
I personally thought he got man of the match as well, didn't he? I don't know how.
I don't know how.
Because everyone was talking about him anyway before he scored the penalty and won it. I personally didn't think it was a penalty.
No, I wouldn't say it was.
But he just didn't play well. He missed 2 big chances in the first half that you would expect him to put away, whether it's down to the lack of game time that he's had this season. Obviously, everyone knows about that. But yeah, it was just, I think for him to snatch all the plaudits after a pretty disappointing display just because he scored a penalty, it was just a bit unfair on Portugal. I think Bruno Fernandes had a really good game. He actually showed the creative side that everyone's criticised him for just rushing, whereas now he's actually picking the passes.
Well, the whole thing is he doesn't play well with Ronaldo. Yeah. You proved that wrong to a certain aspect. Certain things, you say?
Proved my point wrong from the podcast today, so it's a shame.
Made the mug already.
We'll move a little bit on to the rest of the games. Obviously not much happened. What were your thoughts on Uruguay, Ben? Did you think they performed?
Well, they've got an interesting sort of team. They've got a good blend of experience and youth with Suarez and Cavani up front, as well as Nunez, and then they've got Godin and Caceres at the back. So you'd expect them to be even a bit better than they were, but I don't know, they're just lacking that bit of creativity in the final third. But Valverde did a really good game, so that's a positive for them.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that comes from just Valverde, Bentancur, quite similar players in the middle? The lack of creative edge is probably down to that.
There's nobody really who thinks going to play that final ball that's just going to unlock a defence. They're more pace and power up for there than sort of skill really, and they'll need to improve that with they'll need to win the next game really.
Yeah, of course. And Switzerland obviously won as well, but that was an open game.
A bit another boring one. We were in uni watching it. We couldn't really get into it because
at the back of the class, needed some glasses on, to be honest.
Don't say that to Jerry, of course. I think Switzerland, it's going to be tough for them. You know, they've got obviously players like Shaqiri. He's getting on a little bit now. He's not really performing at club level as he was. Someone like Breland Bolo, I know he scored, but he's never really been that.
The potential's always been there for him to be so good, and he's never really
been
reached
the
them
man,
heights.
has he? Granit Xhaka obviously in really good form, but
yeah,
I can't see it happening for Switzerland. I think Uruguay, they'll give them a good game and it'll come good. Yeah, nice one, guys. It was good to talk about that. We're now going to throw it back to Nathan at the Winter Gardens. He should be on the line, our England and Wales correspondent.
There's some stuff in there that you don't want.
Hello.
How are Wales getting on at the minute? I know it's half time in that game. What are your thoughts on that game so far?
It's a tough one for them, to be honest. Iran are showing the chances. They did find the back of the net, but it was ruled for offside. Kiefer Moore probably had the best chance for Wales, a cross-in, back post, but he's hit it straight at the keeper. And the keeper for Iran as well is the one that came on as a sub against England. With the other one that came off, Beeren Van, he's on the bench today. But it's a tough game for Wales. I'd say they need a win because I don't think they're going to beat England, but you never know.
Yeah, Wales not quite hitting the heights that England did against Iran then. We'll move on to England tonight, obviously playing USA at 7 p.m. Harry Kane, he's fit. How big do you think that is for England and Gareth Southgate?
Absolutely massive. I think Harry Kane's the best player for England. He's not only a goal scorer, but he provides assists. You saw that in the Iran game, and I think as much as if he was out, Callum Wilson probably would do a good job. He's also injury prone, so it's probably best that Kane starts. And I just think he's such an important person in that team. Everything flows through him, and if he goes, I do think chances for the tournament might dither.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We've got other games today, and like Steve with Elliot before, England prediction, I'm going to push you for one. So what's your thoughts on the other games, and then I want a prediction from you.
I'm going to go 3-0, similar to Steve. Look, I just think USA are a young team, and it's going to be a struggle for them against such a high-profile team like England. They've got so many good players, and like Steve said again, so many have played in Champions League finals or big Champions League or Premier League games. And this young American squad, look, they've got great potential. But right now, I just don't think they are going to touch England in any way. They might get a goal, but I think England will surpass them quite easily, to be honest.
Thanks for that, Nathan. Great to see your lovely face on our screens. Coming on to England quite quickly. Do you agree with that? Do you think it will be a walkover in the sense of 3-0 easy, or would you say otherwise?
I have confidence, I have hope, especially with Harry Kane being fit. I've seen that Gareth Southgate is rumoured to name an unchanged lineup, and it's kind of deserved after the way they performed against Iran, because we've seen the likes of Argentina and Germany be a bit complacent, and it's a good job that England didn't do that and they got the confidence boost that they needed. But I think USA looked good against Wales. They kind of dropped off towards the end of the second half, but for the first 60-70 minutes or so, I felt like they were the better team. They've
got a lot to prove, haven't they, USA?
Yeah.
I think with not being at the last World Cup, it was like a massive failure, and it's such a young squad. You could see against Wales, they really took it to them in the first half, and I think they're going to do the same against England. Of course they are. It's some players, quite a few players that play in the English leagues that we know about. Even a player in Yunus Musa who played for the England youth teams. They're going to be really up for it again, and it's going to be tough for England. I think. Obviously, America are a really decent team, young team. I think England have just got to get the first 10 minutes out of the way, make sure they're sort of calm, compact, and then go from there.
They definitely need to get past the just the rivalry side of it.
Yeah, there's so much potential for America though. It's such a young squad. Would you say Iran tend to sit back anyway? Do you think it's going to be a different approach?
I completely disagree that England are going to walk over, to be honest, and I'm not just saying
I hope
that from a biased point of view. I think America just they've got sort of good athletes in that team. There's a lot of strong runners, a lot of power and pace, and they've got a bit of skill, and Pulisic could pull something out of the bag. You never know, the LeBron James of football. I don't think it's going to be a walk. I think it'll be a draw. I think England will start strongly, but I think America will come into it later on in the game.
Let's just hope Jordan Pickford doesn't do a Rob Green. Because that would be catastrophic.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got other games as well. Qatar, Senegal. What would you? Qatar didn't really do much in the opener.
No, and I don't think they'll do much against Senegal either. I said previously on the podcast that my hot take is that Ecuador will make it out of the group and Senegal won't. And I don't think Senegal showed anything against Netherlands to prove me wrong.
Mr. Mane, of course, is detrimental.
And the fact that Mendy's not in the best of form.
No, he doesn't even start for Chelsea now, does he, under Potter? So.
And I just think I think they'll have enough to get past Qatar, but I think anyone would.
I think for Qatar, it's their biggest chance.
Yeah,
Get
a goal
is
the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Their home tournament, they're probably unlikely to ever play in a World Cup any time soon. So. They've really got to go for it today.
There's real talk of Mendy being dropped actually from the Senegal team.
But I'm so surprised that they lose the game because of him against Holland. So it's not a surprise. Moving on to Holland, again, it was another one of them where it was big expectations. He was slow and it was lethargic and it was. What would you?
Yeah, they sort of looked for Gakpo for inspiration really, and it's not. They can't rely on him at such a young age to sort of.
He's only just coming through realistically now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was interesting seeing Vincent Janssen start. That's a blast from the past.
I've completely forgotten he existed.
I don't know. There's something about Netherlands where they look really strong defensively, but going forwards, they've not got the strikers they've had in the past, like Van Persie and. With Robin coming in from the right and stuff, it's not the same team really.
The pre-tournament worry for them, and then you look at Ecuador and Valencia, again one of them where he goes away from the English league and he comes back and everyone goes, wow, he's not a world-class striker. You've got Van Dijk as a world-class defender, as you said, so you think it would be a bit of an issue for Ecuador?
I think so, but then again, they did impress in that first game. I think that 4-4-2 looked really effective for them with their wingers getting down the flanks really, really well. And if they can get quality, it depends if Valencia's fit, because obviously he hobbled off in the first game. So, but if they can get good service into him, well, they could cause a bit of a shock.
It's still half time in Wales, Iran. We've been mentioned by Nathan. Wales, they need to win this game, don't they?
It is 100% a must-win because they can't go into the England game relying on needing 3 points to get out of the group. It just, even if England win and then there's not so much pressure on England going into the final game, England will want to beat Wales naturally.
Of course, rivalry.
Yeah.
It's a massive game, and it's like a derby game in club football, isn't it? It's, as we saw at the Euros, anything could happen, and it'll be a really interesting one to see if they can get a result today. Yeah. I'm going to push you for a score prediction on Qatar, Senegal, and Netherlands, Ecuador, and England, USA.
I think Senegal, Qatar will be 2-0 Senegal. I just think they'll have too much for Qatar. Netherlands, Ecuador, I'm going to go 3-1 Netherlands if Depay starts. I don't know why he didn't start.
I think it was a bit of an injury. He has played twice for Barcelona League this season, so.
Right. And then England, USA, I'm going to go 2-0 England.
Brilliant.
I'm going to push you for the same.
Well, I think Senegal will be far too strong for Qatar. I'm going to go for 3-0 with that one. With the Netherlands, I think they'll win 2-1. I think they'll be able to keep Ecuador's threat down to a minimum. And then I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw tonight with Pulisic getting
the big controversial one that we want, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should be an entertaining game. So we can hope and look forward to that. That is it for today. So thanks to our wonderful pundits, Ben and Dan. And of course, to everyone listening along at home.
This podcast was produced and presented by sports journalism students at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. If you liked it, you can follow us on Spotify and share it with your friends. Thanks for listening. We'll be back this weekend. We'll be back on Monday even at the same time, reviewing the games from the weekend, looking ahead to that day's games. Cheers.